All right, everybody, I'd like to bring to your attention something happening at Fresno State. Is that university or college? I think Fresno State University. Is that right? Let me ask. Bernadette, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Fresno State University.
Well, you sound very, very secure. Are you?
Well, thank you.
You do? No. I mean, that was great. That is Bernadette. Now, your last name is Tasy?
Yes.
Tasy. She's president of Fresno State Students for Life. And I also have the senior counsel with the fantastic group, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and director of its Center for Academic Freedom. Oh, my God, that is a man. I hope you're not a drinker, sir, because to be the director of the Center for Academic Freedom at any group, it's tight. Now,
well, if that didn't drive me to drink, my 5 kids would, I guess. So I just abstain altogether, Dennis.
You have 5 kids?
I do.
5 kids,
so,
yes, that's true. If you were in rehabilitation, I would totally understand. Now, let me get your name right. Tyson Langhofer?
Correct.
I pronounced it correctly?
You did.
Now, I am a lover of names. Before we go further, have you ever met another Tyson Langhofer?
No, I have not. It's a fairly German name. You'd think it. I think Langhofer is decently common, but I've not met another one.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I just got to tell you, you don't have a bigger fan than I for Alliance Defending Freedom. Just want you to know the good that you people do.
We appreciate your support.
Well, you're fighters, and I love fighters for good. But anyway, let me go for a moment to Bernadette. Bernadette, in a nutshell, tell my audience what happened at Fresno State.
Well, ADF has actually helped us twice already. The first time was back in May of 2017 when my pro-life campus group, Fresno State Students for Life, received permission from the university to chalk positive pro-life messages on the sidewalks on campus. And chalking is very common on our campus. But while we were finishing up, a professor confronted me and said he'd be coming back to erase our messages. And he ended up recruiting students from his 8 a.m. class to help him do this.
What were your awful messages?
Well, some examples would be support pregnant and parenting students and choose life and the heartbeats at 21 days after conception. Very, very
of course.
Controversial.
Totally. So wait, this professor was in what discipline?
He was a professor of public health.
A professor of public health actually said to you, I will be coming back with other students to erase your chalk messages.
And that's exactly what he did.
And it's okay, then what happened?
I was shocked. It was very unexpected, but I caught most of it on video. I talked to the students, I talked to the professor, and then ADF stepped in. And, of course, we won our case, which was a big win for free speech.
Wait, hold on. The case went to court, or the case was in the university?
The case went to court, so it was against the professor individually and in his professional capacity as well, but not against the university. The university actually stood up for us and respected our constitutional rights.
Well, those are 2 good parts of this story.
Yes.
No, I mean it. What ADF was this? Did he suffer any penalty? Did he have to pay a fine? What happened?
The results of the case were that he basically is not allowed to interfere with our group again. He was also responsible for $28,000 worth of attorney fees and costs, including $1,000 to me and $1,000 to another student. And in addition to that, he paid $28,000, but I, as a student, did not pay anything because ADF provided all of their services for free to us. And they not only helped us fight for our rights, but they gave us the opportunity to share our story to help put an end to this anti-free speech epidemic.
Now, Tyson, you wanted to add something to that, correct?
What was that?
I'm saying to Tyson.
I was just going to say that we reached a settlement where he was required to pay our attorney's fees. But one of the things that I think was the best part of the settlement was he had to undergo 2 hours of First Amendment training for our very own attorneys. So we got to educate him on the beautiful...
I love it. I love it. Oh, my God. That's right out of the left's rule book. All right, we'll be back in a moment. There's a banner up for ADF, Alliance Defending Freedom. This is one case I really do ask you to please help them, or at least find out what they're doing, because there's a lot to tell you about that. Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here with two guests on the line. Bernadette Tasy, president of Fresno State University Students for Life, and Tyson Langhofer, senior counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom and director of its Center for Academic Freedom. So there are two episodes. The first episode of trying to suppress the students who had quite simple, non-provocative messages allowed for by the university, and then they were erased by a professor who told the students to erase it. I watched your video, Bernadette, and it was fascinating to see the girl who was erasing, told you the teacher told us to do this, and then you can't video me doing this. So that was fascinating unto itself. I just want to repeat, though, because it's good news, Fresno State backed you. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
It's very, very good to hear. We have to reward the good, not just punish the bad. What's the second episode?
Well, back in April of this year, I was putting up flyers with two other members in an academic building on campus, and a student started tearing down our posters right in front of us, even ripping one of the flyers out of our members' hands. And part of this was caught on video, too. And we were in communication with the campus police. We sent them the video, and they eventually told me that they forwarded the case on to the student conduct office. And they told me that I was not allowed to know what disciplinary action, if any, took place against this student vandal. And so, again, ADF is stepping in to ensure that we, as the victims of this crime, have the right to know what disciplinary actions, if any, took place against this student.
So, Tyson, do you have more cases than you can handle?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, anybody that watches any sort of news would know about the epidemic, the problem we have on public university campuses, and we've got far more than what we can handle, and you know, we're doing all that we can in litigating every chance that we have the opportunity. But you know, it takes a lot of money to do this, and it takes a lot of resources. And so, you know, we love to, our goal, our passion is to help students like Bernadette, to protect their rights on campus. But, you know, there's only so many resources that we have, and so many cases that we can fight.
So is the issue entirely one of more funding?
You know, here's the good news. The bad news is there's a lot of these cases. The good news is we're winning these cases. We've got almost 90% win rate on campus when we challenge these policies, and we've had almost 400 victories over the last 10 years on public university campuses. And so that's a great news. And so what it means is that we can continue to fight these as long as we've got, you know, the resources to do so. And so, yeah, obviously, you know, having we provide all of these legal services for free to individuals like Bernadette, to students that are out there on the front line that are standing to bring truth to campus and to bring a different perspective to campus. And so, you know, we rely on the generosity of ministry friends to advance this freedom that we're working to protect, you know, all Americans, not only for this generation but for the generations to come.
Now, ADF though does, obviously you're the one involved in campuses, but ADF does a massive amount of work outside of campuses. Tell us the story. What is the state currently of the florist in Washington?
So Bernadette Stutzman, we've represented her for a number of years. You know, she's a florist in Washington that's being targeted and sued by the ACLU and her state's own Attorney General, and that we lost the case at the Washington Supreme Court, and that was appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. And after we won the masterpiece decision earlier this year, the Supreme Court thankfully granted review and then passed the case back to the Washington Supreme Court and said the vacated the prior decision and told the Washington Supreme Court to review the case in light of the Supreme Court's decision of Masterpiece. So we're waiting.
You're the ones who defended the Masterpiece bakers.
We also defended the Masterpiece bakers. That's right.
Right. No, I want my listeners to know that. I mean, how big you guys are. I mean, and how important your work is. So what was the story? Very quickly, what did the woman refuse to do? Was it also for a same-sex wedding?
So Bernadette had served a customer for over 10 years. His name was Robin, and they were good friends. But when he came in and asked her to prepare and design the flowers for his wedding, she politely declined and said that I'm not able to.
After selling him flowers for 10 years.
After selling flowers for 10 years for multiple different events, the one thing that she said I can't do is to design something that would.
You know what? I know the story. So let me ask you, on a human level, I am stunned that this guy would, after 10 years, and knowing the issue, the one issue that she can't be involved in is, for religious reasons, is a same-sex wedding, that he would sue her.
You know, what's unfortunate, really, Dennis, about the situation is the Washington Attorney General came in on his own volition, on his own, prior to any other action, and filed a lawsuit. And then the ACLU became involved at that point in time. So this case was actually initiated by the Washington Attorney General, and he has pursued her relentlessly ever since.
So the Attorney General is what led the gay man to initiate the suit, or it was irrespective of the man.
Actually,
he's not even involved necessarily.
Well, he is involved, but he became involved after the Washington Attorney General.
Right. Okay. So I'm saying, all right. So I'd like to ask this guy one question. This woman has treated you beautifully for 10 years. Why did you do this? But that's a human question, and this stuff sometimes transcends the human. Listen, Tyson, I'm a big supporter of the Alliance Defending Freedom. The banner is up at DennisPrager.com, folks. Please click on it. And Bernadette, you're a tower of strength. It's a joy to know you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. We'll be back. I'm Dennis Prager.